So, Peter, the multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.
The Marvel Cinematic Multiverse is officially here. The MCU can now technically be called the MCM, and let me tell you, director John Watts is my new hashtag Man Crush Monday. Not only does this movie pull off some classic double identity narrative, but this is a completely novel and unique exploration of cinematic storytelling that could change movies forever. The concept of parallel universes, or the many worlds theory, has been gaining traction over the past few years in pop culture media like What If, Rick and Morty, Into the Spider-Verse, and the recent Everything Everywhere All at Once, to name a few. Also, if you're in the mood for an indie mystery, I recommend Coherence. Seeing how No Way Home has become the third highest grossing film of all time, the people are clearly hungry for these stories of alternate versions of life. This cultural zeitgeist could likely be attributed to a collective feeling of dissatisfaction with the harsh realities of our mundane lives, but this psychology of general audiences is what Phase 4 of Marvel has been able to dive headfirst into, creating some of our wildest fantasies. Well, as long as those fantasies are PG-13. Spoilers ahead.
You know what? No, it's PG-13, you're gonna like it.
Part of the allure of the multiverse idea is being able to have your cake and eat it too. Lose someone you love on this earth? Well, don't worry, there's infinite more copies of them. Some just might have like a funny haircut now or whatever. Do you ever feel like a loser? Well, there has to be a successful version of you in one of those universes, right? As quantum physics suggests, photons exist in every possible state until it collapses into a singularity upon observation. Thus, multiverse stories are both a cop-out and a blank canvas, like a Schrödinger's Spider-Man. Which is why, in No Way Home, a movie where Peter both fights and rehabilitates the villains as well as teaching and learning from other Spideys, is such a monumental feat, even if it is flawed.
You're saying there's a multiverse?
In the way Avengers Endgame treated the entire 22-part catalog of the MCU as a prequel to that one movie, No Way Home treats the separate cinematic franchises of Spider-Man as cannon fodder. While Into the Spider-Verse did it first, animation as a medium has the ability to do things live action obviously can't. We expect Rick and Morty to be insane each episode because they aren't constrained by real-world physics or consequences, so yeah, go nuts. Regardless of how much we respect the evolutions of animation, we might always subconsciously downplay it as pretty drawings. Besides that, most people know that animation production works differently, where actors can come in and record their lines in their pajamas, or even at home, and thus it loses just a little gravitas.
What do you think? I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about this.
That said, due to the way the Hollywood machine works, audiences also understand that a new actor in a lead role usually means a fresh start for continuity, and so until this point, actors sharing roles have never shared a screen. The script even gives Toby and Andrew's Spideys somewhat fulfilling character development that enhances their own stories, and seeing all three together on screen was like weaponized nostalgia. As much as I grew up on the View Askew-universe and Tarantino, this crossover is more meaningful than a quick comedic cameo or Easter eggs of a fictional cigarette brand.
When I was approached about it, and again, in a similar way to what Toby was saying, it was like, oh, the intention feels very pure here. It actually feels like a great creative idea and a great creative story. It wasn't like they were just asking us to come and say hi and then leave again, but actually have our presence being in service to Tom.
Andrew and Toby reprising their most iconic roles from 10 to 20 years ago, respectively, to mentor a third Spider-Man sounds like a fanfic wet dream, but it's the kind of imaginative storytelling that Hollywood needs to embrace if studios are just going to rely on pre-existing IP to keep their businesses booming. Although they'll likely just attempt half-hearted copies after the massive success at the box office. Tom Holland's Spider-Man has gone through several mentors like Tony Stark, who showed him being a hero isn't about powers or suits, but doing the right thing. Mysterio showed him that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. With his final mentors being not only experienced superheroes, but experienced Spider-Man? Spider's man? Little Spidey lads. The MCU Peter Parker is coached through the razor's edge between justice and vengeance. Like Luke in Return of the Jedi, Peter gives the villains a second chance at redemption, and in doing so, gives himself a second chance to decide what kind of person he wants to be.
Gotta cure all of them, right?
Right.
No Way Home was able to have universe-shattering ramifications and in the end return everything back to its place like almost nothing had happened. With everyone's memory of Peter Parker being erased and his only living relative now deceased, the ending is able to serve as sort of a soft reboot. Again. This is the end of one road that promises a new journey.
What was part of my history and getting a chance to like come together and a way to revisit and just to get back into that, and I don't want to say like close the chapter, but revisit and have certain resolutions, and just join in this like loving creative spirit.
Look, would this work with any other character, and does it stand alone as its own film? Probably not. There's a purity to Spider-Man being a kid, whereas even if the Flash movie dips its foot into the multiverse and we see multiple Batman like it's hinted at, a grown-ass goth who is more interested in punching robbers than helping people doesn't have the same humanism as Peter Parker. Superman, Batman, even Captain America, especially the cinematic versions, struggle with the ethical dilemma, but in the end have almost no reservations killing their enemies. Even though Tobey has to jump in to stop Tom Spider-Man from killing the Green Goblin, this last act of mercy provided closure for both Peters. With the Spider-Verse now blown wide open, hopefully the MCU Peter Parker can take the lessons from this trilogy to possibly become a mentor himself to one Miles Morales. I was 10 years old when the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man came out, so obviously in the end, the nostalgia gives me rose-tinted glasses. But if you've loved these movies for years like I have, this is one satisfying love letter to the webhead. Nuff said.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.